Hi, I'm John Bickel, professor of philosophy at Mississippi State University and also a faculty member in the Judy and Bobby Shackles Honors College, as well as a scientist educator at the University of Mississippi Medical Center in the Department of Advanced Biomedical Education. I'm also the president of the Deep South Philosophy and Neuroscience Workgroup. And let me also introduce you to Marisha Bernstein, who is the Vice President and the Secretary-Treasurer of the Deep South Philosophy and Neuroscience Workgroup. And after Marisha introduces herself to you, we're going to tell you a little bit about our organization, what we do, our numerous accomplishments, and why we are now asking for external donations to continue to do our work.
Well, as John said, I am John's wife and partner and a biologist and biostatistician by training, but mostly I've spent my life collecting old things.
Okay, great. Okay, good. So we're going to start our slides to tell you a little bit about our group, give you a little bit about its history, and talk about our many accomplishments and the kind of impact that we've had that also is reported to you in written form in the booklet, both the PDF and the hard copy booklet that we can make available to you.
Go ahead.
Okay, great. Well, this is a brief introduction to when we started the Deep South Philosophy and Neuroscience Workgroup and what we've done since that beginning. The humble beginnings of our group go back to the year of 2018, pre-COVID, if I'm sure you know. And for a number of years, I had been attending the annual meeting of the Alabama Philosophical Society, mainly because of its location and the time of the meeting. Late September at the Hilton Pensacola Beach, Florida. And but there was never very much of interest to me that kind of shared my interest in science and philosophy at the meeting. So in fall of 2018 meeting, I proposed over that summer a win-win situation, both for the Alabama Philosophical Society and for me. Mara McGuire was about to come do graduate work with me, and I proposed that we would put together a day-and-a-half program, which is the length of the program, the Alabama Philosophical Society, all invited talks by philosophers of neuroscience here across the southern region of the United States, which remarkably had both number of philosophers of neuroscience and some first-rate neuroscience institutes at its universities. And so that September, I arranged for a 14-speaker conference, and we were off and running with our group. Now, immediately after that, and its great success, Marisha and I began planning for a repeated success in fall of 2019 with the Alabama Philosophical Society. David Colexo, who just finished his PhD at the History and Philosophy of Science Department at Pitt, University of Pittsburgh, was going to join me as a postdoc for 2019-2020. And we hearkened back to a session at the Philosophy of Science Association meetings that I had been involved with Carl Craver, Sarah Robbins, and Jackie Sullivan on the interesting neurobiological technique of optogenetics. And it was the success of that session that gave us our theme for the 2019 meeting, Research Tool Development in Neuroscience. So in spring of 2019, we sent out a call for abstracts, expecting to maybe receive 12 to 15 people that might kind of talk at a meeting like this, and we received 25. So we knew we were onto something big. And that fall, we ran a 2 full-day program, actually going longer than the meeting of the Alabama Philosophical Society, of 30-minute talks. 22 people showed up. And we also started the institution of lots of fun on the beach that Hilton Pensacola Beach backs into. So things were really beginning to hum for the Deep South Philosophy and Neuroscience Workgroup. Then in spring of 2020, I don't have to remind anybody of anything about what happened there, but we were undaunted. We applied for that summer and received affiliate group status with the American Philosophical Association. And in February and April of 2021, we held our first group meetings with the APA at the Central Division and the Pacific Division meeting, both of which were held online the entire meeting because of the COVID lockdowns. And we've continued to hold group meetings at virtually every divisional meeting of the American Philosophical Association since then. We also coined a new name for our annual fall meeting, calling it Philosophy and Neuroscience at the Gulf, renaming the first two Pensacola Beach meetings, 1 and 2 respectively. And we sent out early in that middle of that summer a call for abstracts for Philosophy and Neuroscience at the Gulf 3 to be held online October 9th through 11th, 2020, with 3 themes. Epigenetics in the nervous system. Antonella Tramaceri had just finished her PhD in Italy and came to work with me so I could learn some epigenetics and some other topics. We arranged for 4 keynote speakers, including 2 neuroscientists, and we had 22 submitted presentations again. And for this meeting, Philosophy and Neuroscience at the Gulf 3, we started featuring original artwork by Mauritia's and my oldest daughter, Caroline Cooper. Caroline designed the famous logo that we've used for every Pensacola meeting since. And since then, we've featured her artwork in many of our programs and many of our posters and many of our online materials. We also got the Deep South Philosophy and Neuroscience website up and running, deepsouthphilneuro.com. We've actually had it up since 2020. It's updated with each event we hold. An archive of photos and programs from all past events are available on the site. There's also Southern music, so if you want to listen to our playlist, turn on your Spotify while you check out our website. All of this was designed by Maurice's and my middle daughter, Kat Landreth, who designs websites professionally, as well as numerous other things she does with tech and infotech stuff as well. And it's a beautiful website, beautifully laid out, and I really encourage you to take a look at it. Now, I'm going to let Mauricia read this next part.
All of our programs begin or include a statement: due to our beachfront locale and extended lunch, morning, and afternoon breaks, the recommended conference attire is casual American beachwear. Our youngest daughter, Margaret Cooper, not to be left out of all this, the Deep South stuff, designs for both John and I pretty much every year a piece of clothing that matches up with our visual themes of the meeting. So this is from a couple of years ago. Anyhow, Margaret has a website, Dyed & Co., where you can look at her tie-dye stuff.
And just to let you know, for special orders, Margaret will tie-dye anything, and she does an absolutely spectacular job of it. Okay, so there we were in 2021. People were getting vaccinated, and we were ready to get back to in-person meetings. We were so sick of online meetings. My old colleague, Brian Keeley, agrees to co-organize Philosophy and Neuroscience of the Gulf 4 with me to be held in person once again back at the Hilton Pensacola Beach. We were planning for a 3-day meeting. We were now completely independent of the Alabama Philosophical Society and arranging these meetings on our own. And response to our call for abstracts was overwhelming. By midsummer, we had put together a 3 full-day program with 40 talks involved. And then I think what everybody remembers, what happens late that summer, early that fall, the Delta variant struck, and COVID lockdowns and shutdowns were once again prominent across all academic conferences. But we drew the line in the sand, the Pensacola Beach Sand, determined to go on with our in-person meeting plans. And so in September 23rd to 25th, 2021, we held our 4th annual conference, Philosophy and Neuroscience of the Gulf 4. 31 of the 40 people we originally scheduled showed up to present and discuss. Nobody got sick, at least not from COVID, and we turned out to be among the very first academic groups to return successfully to in-person meetings. In this case, we had two invited neuroscience keynote speakers, a professor at Emory University and one of my colleagues at the University of Mississippi Medical Center. And we did have one remote session where Patricia Churchland and Rick Grush joined Brian Keeley and I to discuss the early history of so-called neurophilosophy, or the philosophy of neuroscience. Now, since those early days, let me just assure you, we haven't looked back. So since the first four meetings, we've held Philosophy and Neuroscience at the Gulf 5, September 22nd to 24th, 2022, 43 participants. Philosophy and Neuroscience at the Gulf 6, September 28th through 30th, 2023, 56 participants. And then Philosophy and Neuroscience at the Gulf 7, October 5th through 2024, with 49 participants. So the Pensacola Beach meetings continue to roll on with remarkable success. And we've now reached a complete global reach. We've kept our name, the Deep South Philosophy and Neuroscience Workgroup, because of its historical beginnings. But if you look at the people that have come to present at those three meetings right there, 22, 23, and 24 at Pensacola Beach, we've had 145 participants representing 78 distinct institutions from across the U.S. We have people come from 22 states and 9 countries, including numerous people from Canada, some from the European Union, and even one from South America. We've branched out into other venues. I mentioned the APA. We've also held 2 meetings, Memphis in the spring meetings, in conjunction with the Mid-South Philosophy Conference in April of 2023 and April of 2024. We became in September of 2023 an affiliated group with the Philosophy of Science Association, and we held our first affiliate group meeting last November at the Philosophy of Sciences biennial meeting in New Orleans, Louisiana. We have been invited to do group sessions beginning in April of 2024 with the Southern Society for Philosophy and Psychology, and in summer of 2024, we due to Marisha's hard work, we achieved 501c3 status with as a nonprofit corporation dedicated to educational purposes. I also want to mention that we began an initial alliance with the Society for Philosophy and Neuroscience. We'll be doing an invited session at the first meeting of this new group in May of this year at Washington University in St. Louis. And hopefully coming this fall, we will be back at the Hilton Pensacola Beach in late September for Philosophy and Neuroscience at the Gulf 8. Whoops, sorry about that. My colleague Sarah Robbins, my co-organizer Sarah Robbins, a professor of philosophy and in the neuroscience program at Purdue University, will co-organize with me, and we will be back, we hope, in Pensacola Beach, Florida for 3 days of annual meetings to continue the momentum that we've built up. Okay, with that, I want to call your attention to the Deep South Philosophy and Neuroscience website and turn this over to Marisha for some additional information.
Okay, thanks, John. In just a moment, I'm going to be just showing you very briefly how you can donate to the Deep South Philosophy and Neuroscience Workgroup. But let me show you first, so bookmark our website, and let me show you first how the packet of information that we have put together ends with an invitation. The world is literally at our fingertips. Websites, virtual meetings, YouTube, there's no place or time that's not in the palms of our hands. But still, nothing beats real human interaction in real time. To this end, we invite you, that is donors, to join us at Philosophy and Neuroscience at the Gulf 8 to experience the excitement and enthusiasm, and by that final Saturday session, utter exhaustion of our in-person only meetings. If you'd like to be added to our emailing list, just contact John and he'll add your names to keep you up to date with meetings going on and upcoming affiliate meetings. And now I'm just going to walk you through how to make a donation at our website. Okay, once you navigate to our website, you can click on Donate. it will take you to this page, which has a nice shot of our meeting space and our poster from last year, a couple of brief paragraphs summarizing what John's about to talk to you about. And you can donate in one of two ways. You can donate the old-fashioned way by check. If you choose to do it this way, please include your email address when sending a check so that we can send you a receipt for your records. Or you can donate by credit card. There are two ways to change the amount of your donation. Here, click Change Amount, or once you press Donate, you'll be taken to the Stripe page where you can again change the amount here, fill in a few payment details, and click on Donate. From there, you'll get a receipt back from Stripe for your tax-deductible donation. So it's all very simple, and thank you for your donation.
Okay, I want to end this brief video by telling you a little bit about why we're seeking external donations for the Deep South Philosophy and Neuroscience Workgroup to continue with our momentum and all of the important things that we have been contributing to both philosophy of science and neuroscience over the past 8 years. And that is because there's been a recent change in the way that what is called overhead money that is part of many federal research grants gets divvied back to universities. You may not have ever heard of overhead money of a grant. Basically, what happens with overhead money, that's additional money that a research scientist at a particular institution has to include in the requested amount of money to do the research that the person is seeking a grant for, in addition to the money that goes into the research, to buy the equipment, to pay for the personnel, and to pay for the salary of the researcher. Overhead money is money that comes back to the university, not to the researcher, that accompanies the money that goes to the researcher to do the project. Now, Mississippi State University, an R01 land-grant research university, negotiates, like every other institution, negotiated its overhead rate with the federal government. And before this change in overhead, Mississippi State University asked for about 49 cents on every dollar for every dollar allocated to a research scientist at the University of at Mississippi State University. So if I was asking for $500,000 in order to do a particular research program, a project, I would have to add on to that nearly $250,000 that would come back not to me, but to the University of to Mississippi State University, in order to pay for the kinds of things that a university has to pay for to support research. Now, every single research, so that included administrators, that included the Office of Research and Economic Development, that included other things, anything as well. That was money that came back to the university. Now, what happened over the last 12 to 20 years is that as state appropriations for state universities went down, when state legislatures began giving less money to universities because of budget cuts and things like that, what research universities began doing was using that overhead money in order to pay for the kinds of things that general funds pays for. That included the kinds to support research across the university. So while the Deep South Philosophy and Neuroscience Workgroup for the past 7 years has been financed by my department, my college, and the Mississippi State University, nevertheless, that money is about to decline because of new proposals in overhead money by the federal government. Overhead money is now going to be capped at roughly 15% of the money, of dollars. That means for a research university like Mississippi State University, we're going to lose millions of dollars that used to come in as overhead, but no longer will. And obviously, when a university faces that kind of a budget crunch, other monies are going to have to be taken away to supplement that money that used to come in from overhead. Some of that money that's going to be taken away is the money that we have used in order to finance the Deep South Philosophy and Neuroscience Workgroup. Therefore, for the first time, we're having to ask donors to support us outside of Mississippi State University, and there's absolutely nothing we can do about this because our funding that has supported us for so long is now going away because of this change in overhead rate by the federal government. That's why we're asking for money. We don't enjoy doing this. It's not something we're particularly good at, but we have no choice if we're going to keep this going. I really appreciate your time. I hope you get a chance to look through the print materials or the PDF materials to see the full picture of what we're doing and what we're accomplishing. And I certainly welcome you to contact me about any questions you have about the Deep South Philosophy of Neuroscience Workgroup, our various activities and meetings, and the kinds of impact we've had on the broader profession. Thank you very much.